Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. One of the things I wanted to start out with today is to share a little bit about VTA, because most people, when they hear VTA, all they think about are buses, or perhaps even the light rail system. But VTA represents so much more to the community. So I just want to take a minute here at the beginning and talk about VTA. We're an independent special district under California law, and we're primarily funded by federal, state, and local tax dollars. So we are really here to support the community. We literally award millions of dollars each year for goods, services, infrastructure construction across Santa Clara County. And the BART Phase 2 project is going to be the single largest infrastructure project in Santa Clara County history. So you're talking spending upwards of $7 billion to extend the BART program. When you look at VTA's core transportation services, again, bus, these numbers are all pre-COVID, but we were running about 85,000 weekday boardings, 67 routes, and the newest buses we're buying are all electric. Light rail, we were operating 27,000 weekday boardings with 61 stations, 99 vehicles. Now, because of the tragedy that we faced 2 weeks ago, the light rail system remains closed at this time. And then we also provide paratransit service around the county to those individuals that aren't able to get out and ride our conventional means of transportation. So with that, the real core of today is talking about our diversity program initiatives and what it is that we're looking to do within the community, and also what kinds of opportunities are out there for the diversity business community. So this is a chart that we came up with, in fact, just yesterday, and talked about what types of initiatives are we actually looking to do. And so as you kind of spin around this wheel starting at 12 o'clock, we will go into each of these boxes a little bit later in more detail. But we've got a Net 15 payment program. We've shared our 2021 forecast of opportunities. We're looking at expanding outreach into the communities, not just to the diversity businesses, but all the way down to the K through 12 level. We've got an owner-controlled insurance program, and we also want to look at innovative ways to address the bonding requirements, because we know a lot of the construction contractors, when they come in and they look at a multi-million-dollar project, they're like, you know what, I can't swing that much bonding, or I've got limited capacity, and some of it's already tied up on an existing contract, so I'm not comfortable bidding something new. So we're going to talk about that. We've got the disadvantaged business and small business goals. We've got a new Mentor Protege Program that kicked off this spring. There are all kinds of certification assistance that VTA provides at no cost to the community. We've got a PLA, project labor agreement, that was recently negotiated. We'll go into some details about that. We've got a quarterly newsletter that we're extremely proud of. We've put out 4 of them now. We're going into our 2nd year with the newsletter. We're going to take a moment and talk about small business set-asides. And finally, a new initiative called the Bay Area Diversity Business Forum. So let's talk about Net 15 and set-aside. So to help tear down barriers to utilizing DBEs and SBEs, when we looked back about a year ago when COVID had hit, one of the big things is that small businesses were really struggling to survive, because cash is really so important to a small business. So we looked, what can we do to make things easier on small businesses that want to work with VTA? And so what we finally landed on was coming up with a program where if you're a certified SBE or DBE firm and you're working directly for VTA, that we're going to pay you on a Net 15 basis. So within 2 weeks from the day you turn in your invoice, you're going to get paid. And we're also not going to take any discount out of that money. So again, it's not like you're having to give up 5% of it to get paid early. We're not taking anything out of it. We're going to pay you within 2 weeks. And then we're also looking to flow this requirement down to the BART prime contractors, so that as they have SBE and DBE contractors working for them, they would be required to pay on a Net 15 basis from the date of your invoice, not 15 days after they get paid, but 15 days after you submit your invoice and it gets approved. So we think that's made a tremendous impact in the community. Beyond that, we looked at small business set-asides, and VTA had historically only considered utilizing small business set-asides on federally funded programs. But now what we did is we've gone in and we've changed the policy, and we have the ability on projects up to $150,000 in value to set aside for competition solely among small businesses. And we're currently pursuing California legislature approval to increase this amount to match the federal threshold, which is currently $250,000. So we think that will make a tremendous impact continuing within the communities. Now, when you look at this fiscal year, and our fiscal year runs July through June, so for July through the end of March, we'd already used this new tool 350 times and awarded over $3 million to local small businesses. Again, we're really focused on what can we do to tear down the barriers and make it easier for you to get in here, get some business, get paid, and grow your business. Project labor agreements. A project labor agreement is an agreement between, in this case, VTA as the owner of the project and the applicable labor unions regarding the standardized working rules, prevailing wages that must be paid, hours and benefits, and a dispute resolution procedure. Now, VTA, working hand in hand with MBC, recently completed negotiating additional diversity language into the BART project labor agreement with the Building and Trades Union. These changes now incorporate additional language regarding apprentice programs and subcontracting with diversity businesses. So this language is going to be in this agreement, and the agreement goes to the VTA Board of Directors for formal approval next Friday, June 18th. So we think this is going to be a historic document and is going to make a big difference throughout the Bay Area. When we look at our aspirational contracting goals, and again, this gets into DBs and SBEs, our target here is to get 30% of every dollar that goes out here to small businesses, and then 25% going to disadvantaged business enterprises. Every contract that we award is reviewed for inclusion and establishment of SBE and DBE goals. And while not every contract has a specific goal, and there are good reasons for that, it may be you're buying a specific piece of Microsoft equipment and nobody can provide it by Microsoft, the contractors are still expected to help contribute to our desire to meet these aspirational goals. Now, we're currently in the process of reviewing the contracts for the BART program and establishing individual goals for each package. And we'll kind of talk about those packages a little bit more later on. Now, on April the 8th, again, with MBC's assistance, we kicked off a historic new Mentor Protege Program on the BART Phase 2 program with the Silicon Valley Transit Consultants. SVTC is made up of two joint ventures here. One's led by HNTB, the other one by Mott-McDonald. And we went through and we were also on the selection panel for the 8 subcontractors that were selected for participation. What's unique about this is not limiting this information and training to those 8 firms, but we made all of the training sessions free and open to the public. So anytime you see one of these that is publicized, and you'll get the link for when you can go, you can dial in and participate and get this valuable training. The last one that we did was on digital delivery. And so cutting edge stuff, really good information. Now there's actually going to be another session on June 10th, and that's going to be on marketing, teaming, and operations, the keys to growing your business. So each session is videotaped and again is available on the VTA, MBC, and Silicon Valley Transit Consultant websites. Right now, we're also working to incorporate a 10-week construction management workshop into the program. We're looking at SVTC's proteges plus 12 additional slots for diversity organizations in the area, again, at no cost. So we might give a couple of slots to the African American Chamber, a couple to the Asian Chamber, the Rainbow Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, you get the idea. And again, make this information available at no cost. And so if you look at the BART project with 4 to 6 major contracts expected to be awarded for this next phase, we could be looking at training 800 to 1,000 firms over the next 8 years all at no cost to the community. So we're very, very excited about how that's coming together. Now, to make sure that we're not limited to just today's workforce, we're looking to implement a requirement on the BART program to perform outreach to the K through 12 students, technical schools, community colleges. We want to create a pipeline of talent so that it's available to support future programs across the region. You know, as I look at this, and our vision is, it's not just what's going on at VTA. You look at Valley Water, they're going to be building a dam, and a dam may run you $5 billion. And so people that can do concrete or rebar, things like that, if you get trained on the BART program, you take those skills and talent and you move that over and work for Valley Water, or you work on an extension to BART that BART is handling, or something Samtrans might be doing, or any of the other major projects. We know you're potentially having a new baseball stadium built up in Oakland. And so we want to get people ready. We need to build that pipeline. You have situations where you've got good diversity businesses that may have been in business for 10, 20, 30 years, and then the children come along and they're not interested in doing that kind of work, and they go off and become doctors, lawyers, video game programmers, what have you, and then that business ends up going away and we lose that capacity. We don't want to lose that capacity. So that's why we want to reach all the way out to the K through 12 students. We want to get them excited about, hey, we're digging a tunnel on the BART program that's 5 miles long, all the way underneath downtown, from Portugal Street all the way out to Santa Clara. And so if we've got the opportunity to bring a classroom out and throw them on some hard hats and some safety vests, and bring a backloader up, or a dump truck, or we show them the tunnel boring machine, and we start to get them thinking about, wow, that's interesting. Not everybody's going to go to college. There are a lot of kids that I went to school with that weren't going to college, but they had great mechanical skills. They could take a TV and tear it down and put it back together and it worked, or they could do the same thing with an engine. We want to get those kids and get them interested in the construction trades. We also want to get them interested in the back office types of things. You look at someone like myself, and I probably make, an above average salary, and I run procurement. I run all the warehouses. The diversity business programs are under me. Compliance is under me. So I've got auditors, materials management, construction work, all of that reports to me. And so to be able to sit down and talk to a group of students and say, you know what, no, you're not a technically oriented person. You're going to go to school and go into business. Well, maybe you want to do something like I do and run a procurement organization. And so we want to start talking to them and getting them involved and interested where they could potentially support something like this. So again, generating interest in youth in construction and other trades, prepare them to take over existing businesses and even start new firms. And so we're really talking about generational wealth. We want to get to the point where you own a business, you built it up, you've worked hard, and you've got that ability to pass it on to your children or to be able to sell it to another diversity individual. Small business assistance. And so here we're talking about OSIPs and bonding. We're going to be implementing an owner-controlled insurance program, or an OSIP. This is going to be on the BART program, as well as on the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector, which is an extension of the light rail system down Capitol Expressway. Under this program, VTA will provide all of the insurance you need as a contractor, with the exception of automotive liability. A lot of people come in and they're like, hey, I can get this contract, but I can't swing all the insurance. VTA will provide it. So I know you're sitting there going, well, why would VTA want to do that? And I'm going to tell you, excuse me. And the real reason is because if I've got 10 contractors and each one of them goes out and buys insurance, I know that cost is going to be passed on to me. I can go out and buy that insurance for everybody, and I can get it cheaper. So I'm saving myself money, and then I can include all of the contractors. And so again, I'm looking to tear down those barriers to keeping you out of doing work here. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. Now, when we look at bonding, that's another big issue. And so one of the requirements in the new prime contracts is for those primes to work with their diversity suppliers to come up with innovative ways to either eliminate or minimize bonding requirements for all the subcontractors. So again, we're listening to you. Reggie and I have been all over the Bay Area. We were up in San Francisco just yesterday, again, meeting with individuals, talking to them. What do you need? What's going to make it easier for you to come in and be able to do work for VTA? Bonding was a big issue. Insurance was a big issue. We think we're on the right track to be able to address that concern. Small Business Depot. Now, one of the things you can see it here on the bottom right is we put out a quarterly newsletter, and the last edition was 12 pages long, full color, high gloss, very professional. Jennifer, who's going to be talking to you a little bit later on, is really our point person in pulling this together. She's done a fantastic job on it. This link that you see here, that's how you can get a copy of the current newsletter. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to email this entire presentation out. So don't think that you have to sit there and copy all of this stuff down. We're going to send this out to you. You can click on this link and you can get a copy of the latest newsletter. And there will be a new one coming out the 1st of July. And based on what we were talking about this morning, we're probably going to put a special edition out by the 1st of August because there's just so much going on that we need to share with the community. One of the things I'm extremely proud about in this newsletter is that we don't just talk about what's going on at VTA. In this last newsletter, we talked about a program that Apple had in place. You know, we've talked about what's going on at the city of San Jose. And so the idea is to just get out. We need to share this information. I've only been back in California for about 1.5 years now. And as I look at the Bay Area, one of our biggest problems is a lack of communication. So this is one of the ways that I'm looking to get out and address those communication issues. Upcoming project overview. So this is one of the things that I know everybody's going to be really interested in. In February of this year, we presented details on all of the upcoming projects for 2021. And again, this is the link, vta.org/business-center/business diversity programs. You're going to click under the resources tab, and there you can find a recording of the event that we did and download the presentation slides with all of the details. But what we've done is we just pulled out a sampling of some of the contracts that were in there. And what we're showing in here is when do we expect to put this out for bid, when's the projected bid opening, when's the start date for the work, and when's the estimated contract completion date. So as you go down through here, you can see there were bus stop improvements, boiler and propane tank replacements, park and ride improvements, restroom renovations, Highway 101, De La Cruz Boulevard improvements. And that's one of the things I didn't really touch on earlier when I was talking about VTA, is that we're the primary construction contractor for the county. So if you're driving up 101 and say you're at Matilda Road right by 237, and you get off at that exit, you'll notice it's a beautiful, wide, well-maintained intersection. That's one that we rebuilt. And so the city of Palo Alto or whoever can come in and say, VTA, we've got some money, we need some work done on the highway in this area. VTA will be the contracting organization for that, to come out and fix potholes and widen interchanges and things like that. So you see a lot of work like that on here. So if you've got a dump truck, you've got a paving company, you've got a striping company, you've got fencing, you've got landscaping work, you've got security, you've got flagmen and women, all of that kind of stuff goes into doing road construction. And so there's tons of opportunities like that. Again, picking up here, there's capital project support services. Again, some widening on State Route 87 at US 101. Matilda Avenue improvements, that's one I just talked about. We've got to go in and do the landscaping now, and we have to make sure that landscaping is in place and survives for the next 5 years, because by then it will take hold. I-680 sound walls, light rail rehabilitation, so all things like that. Here's a good small project for a construction contractor, replacing ceiling tiles at the River Oaks campus. Now I know it shows April 21 start, but we did the procurement and the company that bid it then found that they couldn't get everything done, and so they backed out. That's going to be coming back out to be recompeted. And this is something that's really basic. If you've got a ladder and a couple of guys and you've got the right contracting license, it's really about coming into the building and replacing the ceiling tiles. This is about a $150,000, $200,000 job. So it's a good way to get in the door, cut your teeth, learn how things operate at VTA. If you're a certified diversity firm, you're going to get paid in 2 weeks. Great way to go. You see a lot of bulk propane purchases, paving services, replacing of a hoist, replacing of a parts carousel, buying a tug for the operations division. Electric forklift needs to be bought, modular buildings. So all kinds of things, pretty much anything you can think of for a major business, we need to buy. Desks, tables, chairs, carpet cleaning, painting, computers, software upgrades, all kinds of things like that. So again, these are things that you want to find out about. And then again, I just pulled out a couple of things for you to look at specifically. And when you pull up that big presentation, these are the actual slides that you see. So this was the Matilda Avenue improvements for landscaping, replace the planning, remove interchange, civil construction, landscaping, irrigation, ground cover, 3-year plant establishment period, sometime summer of 21 through winter of 24, and it's between $1 and $5 million. So if you've got a good landscaping company, this is the kind of business that you want to get. East Ridge to BART Regional Connector, I kind of touched on this earlier. This is the design and construction of a 2.5-mile extension of the current light rail system out on the east part of San Jose. Picks up at Alamo Station, puts in a station at Story Road, and then finally ends up down at, can't see everything because I got pictures, down at East Ridge Station at the mall down there. The contract value is going to run about $250 million. And again, you're not looking at that $250 million project. You're looking at what can you do as a subcontractor. So can you do cement? Can you do rebar? Do you have lighting for rent? Can you do landscaping? So solicitation is going to be issued sometime next year. It was supposed to go out this year, but our money got tied up with some additional money that there was a lawsuit filed on. And so once that suit gets resolved, it really wasn't targeting VTA's portion of the money. So we expect that to get resolved by the end of this year, and then we'll get this contract started next year. The BART extension programs, again, this is the big one that you're really focusing on today. Now, the phase 1 extension went into revenue service in June of 2020, so just about a year ago. It was for a 10-mile extension from Fremont all the way down to San Jose, and included 2 stations, one in Milpitas, one at Berryessa. Phase 2 is a $6.9 billion project for a 6-mile, 4-station extension. 3 of the stations are underground. It's got a 5-mile tunnel. So when you're digging a tunnel, you're talking about 1.1 million cubic yards of dirt that needs to be moved. So if you've got a dump truck or a bunch of dump trucks, we should be paying for your grandkids to go to college, because there's work here for you to do for the next 8 years. If you do concrete, 4.7-mile tunnel, 60 feet wide, concrete lined, ton of work there. There's stations that have to be built underground, stations that need to be designed, parking garages that need to be designed. This is going to terminate in Santa Clara, just north of the soccer stadium, and then it'll have quick bus access from there into the San Jose International Airport. Terrific project. Now, this project is right now broken into 4 packages, and there really will be a 5th package. CP1 is for the rail operating systems. The qualifications were received on May 18th, and they're currently in review. And then we'll announce the short list by the end of June of who actually gets to submit formal quotes for it. When that short list is announced, those are the firms you're going to want to be contacting. CP2 is tunnels and track work. The short list has already been identified. The RFP is in development, and it'll be issued next month. Package 3 is the Newhall Station, Santa Clara, train yard, and garage. Will go out for qualifications by the end of the year. CP4 is stations and support facilities. We're looking to do an RFQ later this month. And then there'll probably be CP5, which will have at least one, maybe more construction management teams pulled together to help oversee this project. So if you're in construction, here's your homework. These 3 teams are the shortlisted firms to do the tunnel and track work. So the BART Silicon Valley Phase 2 Tunnel Partners, and you see who the point of contact is. This is his phone number. This is his email address. Bay Valley Connect, Stephen Liu, point of contact, phone number, email. Kiewit Shade Trailer Joint Venture, you've got a point of contact and a phone number and an email. Your homework, if you're in construction, if you're in trucking, you do concrete, you do rebar, you do any kind of support services like that, your homework is before the end of the day today, you call them and you say, I'm interested. You email them your summary of qualifications. I want to be a part of the team. And you contact each one of these people, not just one, you contact them all. Because there are too many companies walking around saying, you know what? There are no minority firms here. I can't find them. So I'm just going to do this work myself and I can't meet your goal. Your job is to tell them you're here, you're available, you've got capacity. You already understand VTA is going to cover the insurance. And so really you're looking at, talking to them about bonding. What are your capacity? What can you do? This is groundbreaking, okay? You don't often get in on this. This is the largest project in Santa Clara County history. You need to be a part of it. I want your grandchildren, I want you to be able to drive down the road and point up at the BART station and say, I worked on that, okay? At that, I'm going to turn this over and let Jennifer take over the next couple of slides. She's from our Office of Business and Diversity Programs. She's going to talk about how to register to become a VTA supplier and also handle any certification issues you might have. So Jennifer, take it away.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. VTA has transitioned to a new, rather new procurement portal. It's called Procure Now. And if you will go over to vta.org/business-center, you may either choose to register as a new vendor, and if you're not already registered as a new vendor, you can, or if you are already registered as a new vendor, you can view solicitations there. So I know that we're going to be sending this out to everyone, and the link will be provided for you in that. So next slide, please. And as I mentioned, at this same address, vta.org/business-center, you may view the solicitations. So to view a particular solicitation, you're going to select the green open bar underneath the solicitation. And if you're not subscribed, you will not be able to open those solicitations. So we do encourage you to register via the subscribe button, as it is the only way to receive notifications on new projects. All right, so certification. Oh, are we? Looks like a different order. All right, so we do have some upcoming solicitations. Let's see here. You're going to find opportunities here at the Business Center. And go ahead. I guess this is actually going back through where we were looking at visiting the portal, clicking on the subscription, and viewing the open solicitations. So yeah, if we would go to the next slide, please. Now we can get certified. If you're here because you're interested in the BART Phase 2 project, we want to communicate that the DBE and SBE goals are not set at this time, but all packages will have set goals. So as soon as the project manager has defined the scope of work and identified specific potential subcontracting opportunities, goals will be set. Did I hear a question? Okay. Goals will be set on all of the packages, and the contractor must meet the goal in order to receive the award. VTA will rigorously monitor prime contractor performance against all the goals throughout the period of performance to make sure that the goal is being met. And the prime contractor needs you in order to meet the goal. So if you feel that you meet certain requirements, we encourage you to certify. It is a process, so the sooner that you begin the process of certification, either as a DBE or SBE, the sooner we can get you through the system, and it's better for all parties involved. All right, next slide.
Right, and let me jump in here on the end, Jennifer.
Sure.
When a contractor submits a list of firms and says they're going to use them as subcontractors, that's what they're proposing. They're saying, this is the goal we're going to meet. I'm going to utilize these 5 subcontractors, and they're all minority firms or women-owned firms. When we go to review their actual performance, it doesn't count unless they've handed you a check. They have to have you do work, you invoice, and based on the invoice dollars, that's how we calculate their performance. So they can't just line you all up, propose you, and not use you. If they don't use you, they don't make the number. Okay, so we're really holding these firms accountable. It's all based on actual payments, not how many people they can sign up, actual payments, okay?
Awesome. All right. So VTA accepts 3 certifications for goal achievements, and they're listed here. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump to the center figure here, the federally funded contracts first. Disadvantaged business enterprise or DBE certifications, which are good for federally funded contracts. And these contracts are contracts that are receiving money through the federal government for qualifying projects. So DBE certifications are applied through either our agency, VTA, or any other CUCP or California Unified Certification Program agency. Then if we jump to the first figure here, the state or locally funded contracts, those would be small business enterprise or SBE certifications. And those are good for state and locally funded contracts. And those are certified either through our agency or the Department of General Services. And if you are a DBE, this certification status is also good for SBE contracts because all DBEs are SBEs. And finally, then on the third figure here is the Women Minority Owned Business Enterprise Certification, which is also known as the MWBE certification. And we accept these certifications, but they do not replace SBE certifications, even though they are state and locally funded. There will be no MWBE goals on this project, but we do maintain an overall aspirational goal of 18%. And so we do ask that the different vendors help us in trying to reach our aspirational goals. All right, next slide, please. Small business certifications. So at this point, you may be wondering, which certification do I pursue? And so here are the criteria that we're looking for when certifying firms for either DBE or SBE statuses. And there are 4 common elements that cross over both certification types. The first one is the owner or owners are U.S. citizens or lawfully admitted permanent residents. The second criteria is businesses must meet the small business size standards as prescribed by 121 CFR 13. The third is the owners must have full and complete ownership or control of the business. And then fourthly, they're independent. And independent business is one the viability of which does not depend on its relationship with another firm or firms. Or the owners must evaluate information presented by other participants in the firm's activities and to use this information to make independent decisions concerning the firm's daily operations, management, and policy making. So those 4 elements are common across both types of certifications. The differences now are, for an SBE certification, it is race neutral. For a DBE certification, it's for members of minority groups who are either women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, or other minorities found to be disadvantaged by the SBA. So if you're not a member of any of those groups, then you'll want to apply for the SBE certification. Hope that makes it clear for you guys. All right, next slide, please.
Okay, and everybody that wants to do business with VTA, you must go into sam.gov, System for Award Management, and register. It is not difficult. It is not difficult to register for VTA. You go to the website, your email address and your phone, put in a password, you're in. We're not asking you 99 questions. sam.gov is going to ask a few more questions, but these are not difficult processes. And we've got staff available to help you at no cost.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So where do I go to get certified? Simple, vta.org/business-center/business-diversity-programs. All right. And don't miss out. As contractors prepare their bid packages, they will search for DBE and SBEs in our databases for firms that are certified in the work categories that they need. So if your firm is not in these databases, you will have missed an opportunity. Don't miss out. And that's all I have.
Hey,
Jennifer, there was a question about certification that someone had applied and they were wondering about in April, they were wondering about the process, how long it takes for the application to go through. So could you mention something about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. As you can imagine with COVID and other things that have happened since then, there is a bit of a backlog, but normally it takes 90 days from acceptance of all required documentation for an application to be processed. So it is a process. It does take time. And that's why we're encouraging application as soon as possible. And if you find that there is a project that has already been issued that you want to participate in, please do send us an email and list that project number in your email, and we'll do our best to pull that ahead and get you certified, because you do need to be certified by the time that we start work on a project. Good question.
Okay. So I want to kind of head towards the end here, wrapping up our hour, and talk about the Bay Area Diversity Procurement Forum. The problem that I've kind of seen in meeting with folks over the Bay Area over the last year is that the opportunities for diversity firms to find out career or training or procurement opportunities are not centralized. Some people go to the Asian Chamber to find out what's going on. Some go to the Hispanic Chamber, some go to the Black Chamber. Some go to the Western region of the National Minority Supplier Development Council. Some find out about what's going on at church, but there's not one central place to go. There's too many large firms and agencies complaining that they can't find qualified diversity firms. So the idea is for us to band together, excuse me, show them that we are here, we're qualified, and we have the capacity to meet their needs. There's also way too many silos in the Bay Area, preventing us from working together for our common goal of growing the capabilities and capacity of local diversity businesses. I don't know what the problem is here. People just don't talk to each other. You know, the Hispanic Chamber doesn't talk to the Black Chamber, who doesn't talk to the Hispanics. Where I was in Texas, We talked. When Jerry Jones got ready to build a new stadium for the Cowboys, and it was over $1 billion to build, and he needed taxpayer support, everybody got together in the room. And for example, Hispanics said, we're doing the concrete. The Black, and they said, and if you need that, that's going to be about 30% of the work that goes into here. We will rally our communities to support the tax initiative. He agreed. That's what happened. Got a new stadium. Same thing happened when I was in Houston. You build a new stadium for the Texans. You build a new stadium for the Houston Rockets. You build a new stadium in Dallas for the Mavericks. So people talk down there. You don't have that level of communication in the Bay Area. You don't have, people talking about, we're going to pull together, we're going to create alliances. There's also too much time spent complaining about past inequalities. I've had a lot of people say, well, we've talked to VTA before and they said things were going to happen and it didn't happen. Whether these are real or imagined, we're not focusing on the future, complaining about what happened 10 years ago. And I start saying, well, let me tell you where I was 10 years ago. It was not in California. All I can tell you is I'm here now. We are changing policy management and we are tearing down barriers. We're paying you in 2 weeks. I don't think you're getting that out of other public agencies. We're driving that into our contractors. So things are different. And we can sit here, and I appreciate the fact that throughout the Bay Area, there may have been systemic racism or other issues, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on fixing things right now. Now, it's also very important to be aware of what goods and services are available in our own community. Reggie and Carol and I, and Olga, who's not here with us today, went down and met with some Hispanic contractors one night about a month ago. And we did a very similar presentation to this, talked about what was going on, finished up about 8:30, was hungry. One of the guys came around and said, hey, here's the best Mexican food in San Jose. It's a new restaurant. He helped get them started. And here's a coupon if you go there. And I said, great, thanks very much, and left. Had my wife with me, said, you know what, we were gonna get some dinner anyway, let's go try this place. And went in there and spent our money in that community. We were down in the Hispanic community. We spent our dinner money in the Hispanic community. 5 minutes later, Reggie shows up. He and I didn't talk or say, I'll meet you over there. But I am so proud that he had the exact same idea that I did, that we're going to spend that money in that community where we are. We're not going to zip out of there and go to Applebee's. We're going to spend that money in that community. I've been in an apartment for about 1.5 years here. My carpets need cleaned. One of the guys I've met, African American, has a carpet cleaning company. Now, I could have called some large carpet cleaning company, but I called him and said, come clean my carpets, because I want to think first about spending that money in our own community. And if everybody thinks more along those lines about spending that money in our community, and then that business spending money in that community on things that they need, and we get that money circulating and bounce it around 10 or 12 times before it goes out of the community, we can really make a great inroads into sustaining and growing these small businesses. So our vision is to create the Bay Area Diversity Procurement Forum. It's going to be a monthly meeting, initially held virtually, to collectively try to meet the outreach needs of the diversity community, large agencies, and major corporations. It's that centralized place where you go to share opportunities to and within our communities and to facilitate better communication and working relationships. Each month, 1 to 2 major corporations or agencies bring their decision makers, they bring their procurement people to the event to share immediate career, training, and procurement opportunities. I don't want to just know what's going on locally in San Jose. I want to know what's going on in Las Vegas. I want to know what's going on in Los Angeles. I want to know what's going on in Denver, because some of your firms have been here for 30 years. You've got the capacity to operate on a larger scale. You can mobilize, you can go. Hey, I can work in Vegas. I can work in LA. Let's do it. Eventually, this event will be held in person. And that's going to allow us to support additional networking and discussion of business opportunities. When I was in Houston, I went to an event exactly like this. So I have no problem stealing a good idea. And the first time that I went, there were about 20 people in the room. Excuse me. And I met with the guys afterwards and I said, this is a tremendous idea. I said, I bet I could put 1,000 people in this room. And we were doing it as a breakfast, 7 a.m., first Tuesday of each month. And they looked at me and said, knock yourself out. In 6 months, I had 1,000 people in that room at 7 a.m. And I had every major corporation in the Houston area supporting it. All the public agencies, the hospital district, NASA, the oil industry, they were all there supporting it. So I know this works. And it was also working in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So this is a proven concept. It's a lot of work, but with your support, we can make it happen in the Bay Area. When you look at the event, we want to set the expectations. We start on time. Now for a breakfast, we did it at 7 a.m. We charged for breakfast. Back then, it was like $7. So when we go live here, it'll be a breakfast and we'll charge whatever the going rate is for a breakfast. But if we say it's at 7 a.m., we shut the door at 7 a.m. and we start, because everybody needs to understand that if you're going to work with Facebook and Google and VTA, we're about business. We're not about you being late, dragging in at 20 after 7, not bringing your business cards, not bringing your qualification statement. We're on time and we're about doing business. And if you are, then you're going to be here and you want to get going. And we get this whole thing done in about 90 minutes. We make a couple of quick announcements. We get into these agency presentations. When we're online, we may set up some breakout rooms. We have a Q&A session. We want to highlight a success story. This company over here got a contract because of someone they met at this event. We might talk about best practices. And then when we're live, we go around the room and we give everybody 10 seconds. My name's John White. I'm with VTA. I'm head of procurement. If you're interested, here's my number. Call me. Boom, next person. And we go all the way around the room, thank our sponsors, wrap up, get out of there. We would start at 7 a.m. I would typically be out of there by 8:40 so I could get back to work and have the rest of the day. We'll video these events. If you can't make it, watch it later, get that information. Houston is still ongoing to this day. They've got a website. They just had a meeting, I think May 25th, and it was all videotaped exactly like I'm talking about. Our target date for this is August the 10th at noon. A company called Stantec, large company, is going to be the first presenter, talking about positions that are open today, qualifications that are required, what they need to buy today. We've gone over their presentation twice already. We've made recommendations to it. They're doing a lot of good stuff to be a company you probably haven't heard about. And they're not just going to talk about what's going on in the Bay Area, but again, what they're doing across the country. So they operate with hospitals, they do architecture, engineering work, all kinds of stuff. So this is a proven concept. Getting sponsors, Stantec, the NAACP, Minority Business Consortium, Northern California Black Chambers presidents, VTA, Western Region of NMSDC, National Association of Minority Contractors, and then we're going to sector, Facebook, Google, Apple, all of those, PayPal's right down the street. We want to get them involved in this too. It's about communication. When we go live and in person, we'll rotate it. First month, San Jose, next month, Oakland, next month, San Francisco. So wherever you are, it's not going to be, oh, darn it, I got to drive all the way to San Jose today. Because next month it's going to be up in your general area. And that's why it's Bay Area we're talking about, and not just San Jose or Silicon Valley. We want everybody involved, okay? So get ready for action. It's time to take control of our future, work together to grow permanent capacity for the diversity firms in the Bay Area that can be passed down to future generations. Again, we're looking to start this on August the 10th. And you've got Reggie's phone number and mine. Again, we'll send out copies of this presentation. And if you're interested in supporting it, please contact one of us and we'll see where we can insert you in the process. Some final thoughts. Again, our aspirational goals are 25% for DBE and 30% for SBE. If you look at the BART Phase 2 project and a budget of $6.9 billion, you take 30% of that for small businesses, that's over $2 billion. For DBEs, $1.725 billion. So that's almost $4 billion, almost half this money going to the small and DBE community. We want you to be a part of it. We want to create a lasting legacy. I don't want to come back 8 years from now and have people say, well, you promised all of this and it didn't happen. I can't do this by myself. I need every one of you to make this work. We want to grow your current firms. We want to create new firms. Again, that's why we're doing that outreach to K through 12, technical school, community colleges. We want to achieve some historic participation numbers on the BART project and have a lasting impact on the citizens of the Bay Area. So with that, what do you know, 60 minutes? We've got time for some questions and we're through the presentation. Reggie, why don't you take us away and do some questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to, just a second, we've got a feedback. Yes, there's a couple of questions. I've tried to answer as many as I could with typing. But one was an important one. Some diversity firms, small diversity firms are paid within 2 weeks if they are prime contractors, but most small firms are subs to larger firms to meet the diversity goals, and they frequently are not paid for months. Can you address that, John, as to how you respond to the question of getting paid in a short period of time?
Exactly, we can. And one of the things that
you're going back to your slide.
We see here on page 8 in the first bullet.
You can't hear.
John, we can't hear you for some reason. Let me double check why. Mute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
John, we can't hear you.
Can you try now?
Yeah, his note, and now you're on. You're
okay. So here we go on page 8.
Not. I don't know why you're not in.
I hear him.
Let me speak here. Turn
Okay.
your microphone off.
Oh, mine off. Okay.
Okay, can you hear now? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so here on page 8, this is where we talked about we're going to flow this requirement down to the BART prime contractors.
Just
So you will get paid within 2 weeks as a subcontractor on the BART program. And if we're successful in doing this, and I have no reason to believe we won't be, then we'll continue to flow this down into the highway contracts and into the light rail extension. Because right now, the prime contractors pay after they get paid. And they're like, oh yeah, I pay within 5 days after I get a check. But they're turning in an invoice that might be several $100 million, and it'll be several hundred pages. And so it takes us 30 or 60 days to get all the way through it, especially with COVID. And so that's why the subs are not getting paid quickly. So the whole idea is if we put this requirement in the contract, it's not net 15 from when the subcontractor, when the contractor gets paid to turn around and pay the sub, but it's net 15 from the date of your subcontractor invoice. So we will address that. And that's where we talk about it right here.
Yeah, another question is someone is a DBE certified company and they're in the process of getting certified as an MWBE. Is there an advantage of having both?
That's Jennifer.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Jennifer,
So-
you're going to take that one?
Yes. We do definitely want to encourage MWBE certification. It does help toward our aspirational goals, especially for these upcoming large projects here. If you are, at this point in time, if you are a DBE, it's just a matter of us making sure that all of that information is still accurate and correct before we flip you over as an MWBE if you're applying for MWBE certification. So again, we will not be setting goals for MWBEs on these contracts, but we do appreciate cooperation in meeting an aspirational goal here at VTA. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so it does help. Relatively easy because you've gone through all the hard stuff already. So pretty painless process.
The next question is, if we are certified by Caltrans, can prime contractors find us in the VTA project solicitation portals?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And you have to, I don't know, something's going on. Reginald, put them back on.
Turn your volume on.
Okay, what else?
No.
All right, go ahead, Cal.
I am going to turn mine on.
Turn your sound on.
I am. I have to.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. We've been having could you just answer that question again? I don't think that got recorded. What? It did.
Yeah.
It did go through. Okay. There was a question about this outreach for for kindergarten through 12 students. What does that look like? Who's doing the training? Those kind of questions, kind of overview of that.
Okay, that's going to be a requirement that gets flowed down to the prime contractors, and that will be up to them to propose a training program. So if you do training and you've got access to that particular community, this is when you want to go back to that page that has, here's your homework. You want to contact them now because the prime contractors have not seen the formal requirements. So for a change, you're finding out something before they are.
Yes. Great.
So you'll want to go ahead and contact them and say, word on the street is VTA is going to be looking for outreach to K through 12, community colleges, technical schools, and it's going to be a requirement in the contract. And I've got the capabilities to do that. And so you'll want to start contacting them and continue to follow these shortlist requirements because it'll be in each one of the packages.
So the other thing was that people have been asking for that long project, look ahead list. And Jennifer and I both put links into the chat. So if you miss that and want to see an extensive coverage of different areas of work that VTA is providing, please go to that link in the chat. Maybe Jennifer, you can put it in again.
I just added it again.
That's great, so that you can see what's coming down the pike. Someone asked, what is the schedule for release of CP5? John may know that.
Okay, that was also provided.
While he's looking for that, if you haven't filled out the poll about certification and registration, please do so that we can follow up with you and kind of know. It looks as if maybe 60–70% of you are already DBEs or SBEs, but some of you aren't. If you want more information about that, you can contact us. You can let us know through the chat, or you can, we'll try to follow up with you.
Right, so CP5 tentatively would go out, request for qualifications in August. And that assumes that I don't take a vacation, because we're really buried right now with CP1 and CP2 and CP4.
The next question, someone has been notified of an intent to award to be on the VTA TOD bench. What are the next steps in the process? Do you know how long it will take to learn the outcome of their proposal submittal?
If you've received an intent to award, you're going to get a contract. And it's a question of us drafting the contract, negotiating the terms with you, depending on how it was solicited. And then it'll probably have to go to the board of directors. So if this is June, if you just got a notice the 1st of June, board does not meet in July, you're probably looking at August, September timeframe.
Thank you, John. There's a lot of questions about, I was certified down south in California, or I was certified with Supplier Connect, and wondering if they need to transfer their DBE to VTA or reapply. I don't think any of that matters. So Jennifer, why don't you cover that information?
No matter where you certified in the state of California as a DBE or an SBE, for that matter, we will find you in the databases. So no need to transfer anything. You should be in there. And if you have questions you want to double check, please send me an email and I'll be happy to search and confirm for you.
Another question was just clarifying the insurance items again. The primes, are you requiring the primes to carry the DBEs on their insurance, or is VTA providing insurance for the DBEs? Also, what happens when the prime is a DBE?
VTA is providing all the insurance except automotive liability. Period. The only thing you need is automotive liability. Even if you're a DBE prime, VTA on the BART program will provide the coverage. Again, trying to tear down the barriers, make it as easy as possible.
And when the prime is a DBE?
Doesn't matter. Whoever the prime is, whoever the subs are, if you're on the BART program, the only thing you need is automotive liability insurance.
Okay. And how does VTA handle unsolicited proposals?
Unsolicited proposals, you can submit them and we will evaluate them and then make a determination on whether it's something that we want to move forward with. I have not seen one come through. I will tell you that our budget, it works on a 2-year cycle, and we're just going in. The 1st of July is the next 2-year cycle. So we just got the new budget approved a week ago. So unless you've got the cure for cancer or how to have an electric car have a 10,000-mile range, it's going to be difficult to find the money to do it. But we'd certainly be happy to take a look at whatever you want to propose.
There's another question about, oh, sorry, you finished?
Yeah, because I mean, there might be grant money available or something like that, but you know, it's a tough road.
Yes. I don't know if you can answer this, but someone's a consulting firm focused on land and transportation planning design and wondering the rough percentage of contracts that are for planning rather than construction.
There's a lot of planning contracts. I can't give you a specific percentage.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I mean, you're talking, we're doing highways, congestion management, bike paths. I mean, there's something on the upcoming board agenda about the bicycle superhighway. So there's all kinds of planning. There's transit-oriented development planning, planning supporting BART, planning because we do that TOD type of development where we're doing housing and parking and retail and things like that. So there are plenty of opportunities. And so I suggest you go back and look at that list of all the upcoming 2021 projects, and that'll give you a good feel for what we're doing.
Is there a list of prime and subcontractors, including all tiers for each project that can be provided?
No, there's not.
Yeah.
But what we've done is we have provided you the shortlist firms for tunnels and track work. And if somebody is going to be bidding, every time when you go into Procure Now and you download a solicitation, you can see everybody that has it. And they're specifically identified as a plan holder house, a prime, or a sub. And that you go in and see who it is, and then you go after each one of those primes.
A question about workforce goals. Does the county VTA have a local construction workforce goal, and what is considered a local resident?
There is not a local workforce goal.
I think we've covered everything.
But local for contractors are Santa Clara County, Alameda County. We go out wider and wider, San Francisco, San Mateo. We go all the way up to Sacramento. It's a 9-county region for all the contractors. So that's our region that we're looking for, and we're looking for all the small contractors in those regions. Listen, that these innovative processes that you just heard about, this is something very new. We are trying to get not just VTA to do it. VTA is stepping out on this BART project and on their internal contracting. But if we can make this work here, we can have the County of Santa Clara and many of these other agencies step out and offer these same kind of programs around insuring the projects and all of that. So we think that this is an opportunity for us to get excited about these opportunities coming back to the Bay Area. And this is why the guy in the last meeting said John was the Dark Knight.
I mean, we really want to set the bar for how this is done. And when you look at these diversity business requirements, we've been going out and having private one-on-ones with certain individuals in the community and saying, here's what we think, what are we missing? And honestly, I don't think we've missed anything. Nobody has really come back and said, yeah, here's something you guys completely left off the table, because we've done a really good job of putting this together. And so it's really just been refining and fine tuning it. But I think we've pretty much addressed everything that could be of a concern to the diversity community.
And let me just interject. We're not 9 counties, we're actually 11 counties. So don't shortchange us there.
Thank you.
So it's the typical 9 Bay Area counties plus Sacramento and San Joaquin. Those are
And San Joaquin to the south, yeah.
Are the 2 additional ones.
Yes, thank you.
So we have
But
actually gone over time. There's a couple of other questions, but I
Well,
think.
and I'm willing to stay. I mean,
All right,
this is
well,
important.
someone asked, we are sub-consultants to the BART project. It's a challenge for us to purchase cyber liability and pollution coverage because it's so expensive. Is there anything VTA can do to assist?
Contact us directly.
Okay, give them a call. And also a question, what's the allocated budget for CP5?
To be determined.
To be determined. Is there a maximum dollar amount on unsolicited proposals?
No.
No. I'm looking at what is your recommendation of how we can participate in the types of projects that are moving to construction? They work in the innovation space. Not sure if some of these types of things are built into the original design requirements. For example, things like the smart stations. What's your recommendation of how we can participate in these types of projects that are moving to construction?
Contact us directly.
Okay. And let's see.
You know, I got to tell you, as many,
I'm sorry, when will the contract be awarded to the one of the three shortlisted bidders? Any time frame on this? Not sure if it was mentioned or not. Uh-oh, he's pulling out a calendar.
April of 22.
For which contract?
Tunnels and track work,
Okay.
you'll have a notice to proceed in April of 22. Systems, you should have a notice to proceed in October of this year.
I love this question or comment. This has been a fabulous and super valuable presentation. Thank you very much. That's been repeated many times. Will Director Fernandez be able to bring this model to the federal level to ensure that new federal infrastructure funds to come will be shaped by what we are doing here?
Well, what I can say about that is she was really behind a lot of this change. She set the wheels in motion by being involved in hiring me and then empowering me to go out and make these changes. She is certainly keeping an eye on what we're doing, but necessarily must recuse herself from the BART program, any approvals related to that, because she came from here. Everybody wants to make sure that everything is completely clean and nobody feels there was any favoritism. But if we are successful in this, I am very confident that Nuria will start driving it down into other projects. And what I was saying earlier is that considering the number of times we've done presentations like this, it is remarkable at how few people actually follow up and contact us. You would think there would be a line 3 deep trying to get into my office. And the 3 are usually Carol, Jennifer, and Reggie. But the community is not out there trying to get in here. You're not following up. I may get 3 or 4 calls after today, but then everybody else is going to go away. This stuff is real. Okay? We are serious about this. If you are serious about business, then get in touch with us. That's about all I can say. You know, it's on you. I need you as much as you need me. And this is one of the few times you've got a friend on the inside. So take advantage of it. If you don't, it's your own darn fault.
On that note, I just wanted to remind everybody this will be recorded. I know a lot of people left after the hour, but it'll be recorded and will be sent to you. It will also, or a link to it, and we will also get a it up on the VTA website. So there'll be a variety of ways that you can get this information. Again, if you missed anything and want to go over it, and also on the Minority Business Consortium website. We also want to thank you for your attendance and for John's work and Jennifer's work and Olga's work and so many others who make it possible. This is really exciting. And I wanted to end with Reginald and whatever comments he wanted to add.
We have been working on these type things in the Bay Area for quite some time. And John coming here and laying this out with, just as he said, with Nuria, hiring him and saying, let's go for it. John has been challenging us all along the way. to think big, and we are in the process of trying to reconstruct our business community. COVID has hit many of us hard, and we have some real opportunities. I really hope John's phone is ringing. I hope my phone is ringing, and I hope all of you are getting ready to enter into these contracting opportunities. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's make it happen.
If you haven't already, put your information in the chat. And if we missed any questions, we'll try to get those to you, but it tried to cover everybody.
Goodbye.
Have a great rest of the day.
Okay, take care, guys.
Take care, all.
Goodbye.
Very good.